To begin, I'd like to share with you some words out of a little book called The Practice of Kindness. Now, those of you who know Bill Hoseman may have remembered that you see him doing readings out of this little book, and some years ago I managed to get myself a copy as well. And this is from page 258, and the little story is called The Grounding of Kindness. Many years ago, two friends began a journey to the sacred mountains, where they planned to meditate until they found God. On the way, they came across a small village that had been overtaken by a deadly disease. One of the men said, "I must stay here and help these people." His friend pleaded with him to go on with him, but he just said, "You go. I will catch up with you." The lone traveller continued on up into the mountains and spent many years in meditation and prayer, but his friend never came. 30 years went by, and word came through the mountains of the existence of a very holy man. The traveller determined to meet this man and seek out his wisdom, for despite all his efforts, he felt he never had the experience he longed for. After travelling many weeks, he came to a small village where the holy man was comforting the sick, and of course it was his long-lost friend. The traveller embraced his friend warmly and said, "Now I will stay with you. I have much catching up to do." Many of us long for a transcendental mystical experience, an out-of-the-ordinary event that will bring us rapture and ecstasy. Indeed, we can easily get caught up in wishing for a more soulful experience without having any idea of what that truly is. In this parable, we are reminded that it is in the loving of that which is right in front of our noses that we come to know what the lofty sentiments are. When we practice loving what is near, we get off the level of mushy sentimentality or abstract philosophy and sink into the soulful difficulty of the actuality. It is here in the daily and often dull grind, in the offering of service to those around us, where we can truly find and express the deepest parts of our soul. So today I thought I would like to talk about the subject of enlightenment. What purpose does it serve, and how do we retain it? And when I first thought about that after having read this little story, and I actually read it to my group last Wednesday night, the first thing I thought of was an experience Dominic had talked about. Oh, it's a couple of years almost ago now, Dominic. And Dominic was doing an address at the VSU, and he spoke of an experience he had out by the river, somewhere up high in the mountains, at a lake, at a river, when he was out fishing. And truly, when he spoke about that feeling of sheer bliss and connectedness to the universe, I'm sure everyone else along with me, felt we were lifting out of our seats and we were really there with him. So that always reminds me when I think of the word enlightenment. So many people start out on a spiritual journey in search of this enlightenment, just like those travellers in the story. Some actually make a journey to a faraway place for this search, like they did. Others join a religion, seek out a certain guru or philosophy. Most believe it is an ethereal experience that only the spiritually evolved can experience, or that if they do experience it, they will also suddenly be spiritually evolved in some magnificent way, that they will have the answers to their problems, life will become easier, and their troubles will be over. As spiritualists, we're aware of a greater purpose of life and are always seeking to grow more in our knowledge. But we do need to remember that knowledge alone is not enough, and that experience combined with that knowledge is the path to spiritual growth. Enlightenment is simply that. It comes in small steps along the way. So today, as I said, I'd like to share my thoughts. The purpose of our lives was chosen by each one of us, and the role of Spirit is to assist us to achieve this, and we've come to this understanding. It can be as simple as that. I think we can overcomplicate things by believing that we need to become more and more deeply involved in philosophy and the teachings of our own philosophy, or listen to every new guru or self-declared enlightened person that comes along to teach us about spiritual life. There are so many books out there that are really all saying the same things, but in a different way or using more complicated words. We can bombard ourselves with more and more information and the theories about what spirit is and what spirit wants, and what we need to do to connect with the spiritual part of our lives to bring us fulfillment. There's so many theories about the meaning of life. Scientists have told us that what they've discovered about the physical or material side of life, but they are really no wiser than any of us when it comes to the spiritual understanding, and we're probably actually a step ahead of them. Just because someone sounds so sure of what they are saying or has written a book that we can't even really understand doesn't mean that they are further on the path of knowledge and awareness than we are. Perhaps they are, but another person won't have all the answers that are right for our journey. We understand that meditation is a tool to explore enlightenment and to experience it. Many people have experienced the presence of the divine in their meditation practice, and this is a wonderful way to help us become aware of our own spirit self and our connection to the God force. It may come in the feeling of a moment of ecstasy, as Dominique spoke about that day, or in being in a place of absolute peace. The traveller who went to the mountains discovered that this was not enough to experience fulfillment and true spiritual growth. It is what we do with that awareness that really matters. On a spiritual level, knowing that we are surrounded and supported by the spirit realm gives us courage, strength, and hope as we tackle the trials and tribulations of our everyday lives. So this is indeed an important step to enable us to reach our full potential. Enlightenment also comes in the form of becoming aware of who we really are as an individual, and we need to have life experiences to discover that. The choices we make, how we deal with everyday situations, especially those that we have to navigate under pressure, and in dealing with other people, are the experiences where we learn about ourselves. During our meditation time, we can become aware of how we dealt with these situations and with other people, and can realise how we may have handled these situations better. We might also come to understand how the choices we have made have influenced our path in the life that we have taken on. If we wish to take a different direction to improve our situation or find greater fulfillment, meditation gives us a place to explore these possibilities. In this way, meditation is a wonderful way of getting insight into ourselves. There are many forms of meditation, so we need to choose the correct form for our needs at this time. A personal awareness meditation group would be a great assistance with this aspect of our development. Spiritual and personal awareness is about understanding more of who you really are and trusting yourself to make decisions that are right for you. By recognising and acknowledging our own spirit self, growing on a personal level will of course lead to spiritual growth. You can't have one without the other. There are no shortcuts. Time and time again, when I ask someone why they wish to develop mediumship of any kind, they tell me they want to help people. When we start on our spiritual journey, we need to be very clear in our mind of what we are seeking and why? Do we see this as a shortcut to our own personal development, or that we'll easily get the answers to all of our life problems? We'll be disappointed if that's the reason, that's for sure. Are we prepared to help people in the way they really do need assistance, or is it going to be on our terms? Do we feel the need to share our new enlightened knowledge with others? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. Becoming spiritually aware doesn't mean that we have all the answers to the dilemmas of life, and it is not a reason to start telling others how to live their lives. It doesn't mean that we will never make any mistakes, for if we don't make mistakes, we haven't explored our true potential. For as long as we live a human existence, we will continue to make mistakes. It's what we learn from them that counts. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and she's still reminiscing and trying to understand why she made choices that she did, 20 or 30 years ago. Well, I like to remind people when they have those sort of struggles that we really did do the best we could at the time. We made the decision. We may have been a bit naive or ignorant in our way of thinking, but we didn't have the experience to make a different decision. So if we want to go back and keep reflecting on why we made these decisions, we have to decide that we're going to use that for a positive purpose. We have to decide to think how differently our lives may have gone, and we can't look at that thinking with rose-coloured glasses, because if we do, we won't be being true and honest with ourselves, because life's not always going to take the pathway that we expect it to or we would have wanted it to. I believe that as we become more spiritually aware of who we really are, we'll start to recognise and be more honest about our shortcomings, and we'll start to make the changes, and these changes will be reflected in the everyday actions in our lives, and we won't even be aware of it. We'll make decisions that are wiser for us and with respect and consideration to those around us. And in whatever area of our work, we'll do our best for the benefit and well-being of others as well as ourselves. We can be more compassionate and kind with our dealings with others, and no matter who they are. Our work can be very practical. Doesn't matter what job we hold, we can do whatever we do with our spiritual understanding and learning in a way that reflects our spiritual self. Even the factory worker can be a spiritual person and leading a spiritual life. Having integrity in whatever we do is what really matters. Learning through our mistakes and our experiences in this way is a form of enlightenment that we can experience day after day. And most of the time, we aren't even aware of it. Other people are usually the ones that see our true nature much better than we often do. It's often said, if you want to know about yourself, ask someone else, ask someone close to you who's going to be honest to you and help you to understand where they see aspects that need change. I hope my thoughts today have given you a bit of an understanding that enlightenment is not some far-off possibility or magic solution to our problems in life. It is not something that only the few who are spiritually evolved can experience. It's something that we can all experience. And I believe that it's a tool that we possess to lead a more fulfilling and happy existence on our life's journey. And every single day we have small, little messages of enlightenment. It's whether we choose to take the notice of them and what we do with them that what really counts. Thank you very much for listening to me this afternoon. If anyone's interested, I do have a little book that I've read which I found very helpful on this subject, and it's called Hints on Spiritual Involvement, and I've spoken about it before. Moira's nodding her head. This is a pretty old book. It goes back a fair way, and it's written by a wonderful English medium by the name of Ursula Roberts. And truly, it is a beautiful little book. It's very practical and down to earth, and it just shows us the basic things that really we all have the ability to grow with in our lives. It talks about compassion and all of those things that bring joy to each and every one of us. So thank you once again.